Symphony, and it is great to have some rain, right? Now, for those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook Live, Southern California has been, and it continues to be, in a crazy drought. And so the last couple of days we have miraculously and finally had some rain. This is just fantastic. So we'll hopefully see some of the benefits of that with some new sprouting grass and etc., and really see the color of this incredibly vibrant area. We're coming to you from University Village in Thousand Oaks, and our performances, called Winter Spectacular, are happening this weekend, December 3rd and 4th in Thousand Oaks and Camarillo. And I know our audience here goes to one of or the other of the venues, and we want to say special hello to our audience, because without you, none of this would be possible. We are so thrilled to have you here, and we were just here a couple weeks ago, right? Because we had our Beethoven's 9th performance. I hope you enjoyed that. We were able to feature our 4 amazing soloists. So continuing the music and keeping the music alive, we have today Laura Osnes, who's joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. So welcome. And leading the Los Robles Children's Choir, Emma Roche. So Emma, your children's choir actually has quite a bit of heavy lifting to do on this concert, because we've asked them to sing in a number of songs in Ukrainian, because for our concert we are featuring a number of segments all related to different cultural expressions of tradition in the month of December. All of our holiday traditions, except for one tradition, actually, the Jewish tradition, doesn't derive Hanukkah from the place of the sun in relation to the solstice, as virtually every other tradition that happens, religious or secular. It's really quite amazing. And so this time of year, I wanted to focus on the cultures and the experiences of December, rather than saying Christmas or etc., but really put this big umbrella on top of all these traditions. And one of the traditions we wanted to celebrate is Ukraine, because this country is being battered and these people are being murdered. And this amazing tradition still is vibrant, and in our community is also happening. We are going to be featuring an ensemble called Czerwona Kalina, which is a Ukrainian folk ensemble. They'll be part of our concerts this weekend. But the Los Robles Children's Choir is singing in Ukrainian. And I wonder how that experience has been.
I think it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun for me. I've never sung anything in Ukrainian before. And the kids actually caught it. We have some kids back there who are in the choir. They caught on really well, and I'm always so surprised. Their ears are so well attuned, and they're so good at just mimicking back what they hear and learning with their ears. We also obviously wrote it out phonetically. But I think that they've had a lot of fun learning the Ukrainian and memorizing it. We're doing it all from memory. And it's fun because the Ukrainian bell carol, I think a lot of people don't realize it's Carol of the Bells, which is super well known, but most people don't know it was originally a Ukrainian song which actually had nothing to do with Christmas, but then it was turned into a Christmas song, so we're doing part of that in Ukrainian, and then the other song, which is actually a New Year's carol that we're doing, and the Great Cuckoo song. And so it's been really fun.
And they're singing parts of it in Ukrainian and parts of it in English,
yes.
So we get both worlds, right?
Yes. So for the New Year's carol, we're doing the chorus in Ukrainian, and then we had a poetic translation created for the verses, which is nice because you get to follow along what the story of it is, which is a really special little cultural tradition there. And then yes, for the bell carol, we're doing actually quite a bit. I think the first few lines in Ukrainian, the rest in English.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic, and we are so thrilled to have community partners like Los Robles Children's Choir and many of the other ensembles that are playing, because it just gives us an opportunity to spread our wings, but also so your students know they got these wonderful professional opportunities as well, which is very important.
Yeah, and for me, the most special performance opportunities I've ever had have been with orchestra, and singing with orchestra and all the colors of an orchestra is as close to a spiritual experience, a spiritual musical experience, where it's like the heavens open up. And so for many of these kids, it's their first time this weekend. It's their first time ever experiencing that, ever singing with an orchestra. And so I'm so excited for them to be able to share a stage with a professional orchestra and get that experience. It's so special, so important.
So let's give everybody a little taste. Now, they're not going to be singing Ukrainian this afternoon. We'll save all that up for tomorrow, but you have a number of students with you.
So I asked a few of the members of both choirs. We have a younger choir and then an older choir, and so there's a few from each. And if you guys want to come up to the stage right now, and we are... If you're next to someone who's in your voice part, that would be great too. So this is what, 7 out of 60. We have 60 singers in both choirs. So this is just like a small little dabbling. But we're going to be singing a couple of the songs that we're going to be doing in our own Christmas concert next weekend. We're going to start with Caroling, Caroling, and then we're going to do a little holiday medley after that to get us all in the holiday spirit.
And these members of the Los Robles Children's Choir will be accompanied by Amy Comey.
Caroling, caroling, now we go. Christmas bells are ringing. Caroling, caroling through the snow. Christmas bells are ringing. Joyous voices sweet and near, sing the sad of heart to cheer.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Emma. That was absolutely perfect way to start our time together. And Laura, I was just thinking, you're from Burnsville, Minnesota. I live in Minneapolis.
You do?
I do. And we just had
Still
9 inches of snow.
currently?
Yes.
Oh my goodness,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And that is a very musical place. Minnesota, that whole part of the country is just about this immersive musical experience. And I was just wondering, as we were listening to these fabulously talented young singers, about your turning moments that would have happened in your lives, perhaps maybe something like this, maybe something on a stage that lit the spark.
I did feel very fortunate to grow up in Minneapolis. There's a lot of heavy like arts culture, a lot of theater, a lot of fine art and museums, a lot of music, a big music scene and local bands and things like that. For me, musical theater was always the thing that caught my eye. I grew up like listening to Broadway soundtracks and acting out the full musicals in my living room. And I sang like Castle on a Cloud from Les Mis at my kindergarten talent show. And so I did my first show in 2nd grade. I played a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, and that was the turning moment for me. I didn't have any lines. I was just a random ensemble Munchkin, but I loved it.
Some people love the process, rehearsal process, maybe not as a 2nd grader, but throughout. Some people really thrive on the performance. What's the proportion, I'd say, for you when it comes to fully experiencing the rush of putting something together?
I have really come to appreciate both. I think it started with the love of that magical feeling you get when you step on a stage and that high of performing. And not only does it fuel me, but it also fuels other people. Like, what a gift to also have it be 2 ways. And I've grown as I've grown older, come to really appreciate rehearsal and love the process. And that's the stuff that makes for a great performance. And you only get that great performance when you really are allowed time for rehearsal, especially in musical theater, when you get to be in a room for like a month before anyone ever sees it, and you get to talk about subtext and storytelling and develop a chemistry and a relationship with the actors that you're getting to play with. And that's what's truly special, so that you have this foundation and this base for that. When you do get to go out on stage and perform it for other people, there's a history there. I've done a little bit of TV film work, and you don't really get rehearsal. That's more like the 2nd, 3rd time you're ever saying the lines out loud, the camera's rolling. And I'm grateful for my theater training to be able to do stuff impulsively on TV film, do the homework myself.
Right, exactly. And I was also thinking about the difference between, say, the performances that we're going to do together this weekend versus what happens in Broadway, where you guys get that month or so, and then you have previews. What I wouldn't give to be able to do previews for a concert, right? Because you put in all this work and then something crazy will happen. I remember one time the lights went out in the performance, and the orchestra, by some miracle, kept playing. They only went out for, I don't know, would have probably been 5 or 10 seconds, and they came back. But it's just these funny things that happen. But when you do previews, you get to work out all the kinks. And I just wonder, can you think back about anything that was profoundly changed during a preview that really changed, maybe even changed how a show would have been received?
Yes, for sure. I've done a few revivals, like Grease. You guys all know the musical Grease, right? South Pacific, Anything Goes. And then I've done a couple original musicals. I did a musical about Bonnie and Clyde. I did a musical called Bandstand that was based on like a group of World War II vets returning from the war and starting a swing band. And it's mostly in the original musicals where things really get changed. And I've had songs completely cut, songs completely added, scenes readjusted, orders of things switched around in those new musicals up until maybe a week before that opening. So this preview process that Michael's talking about is usually about a month long, where you rehearse every day and you're still making changes to the show and performing every night for a paying audience. And then once you make all those changes for like 3 weeks, the show freezes. So no more changes can be made, and that's when the critics come before the official opening night. And after the show is open, there's usually not any more changes unless there's a disaster. But you get that time to play and figure out what works and what jokes are landing, or you figure out your pacing, things like that. The lights going out, the technical issues. Not to say that things still don't go wrong once opening happens, though.
Unbelievable.
Joy of live theater.
Right, exactly. Well, you have one of your collaborators here, Jay Denton,
Yes.
and you and Jay have written music together.
Yes.
And I'm just thrilled that coming here means that the two of you get to perform together.
Likewise.
And I
Such a
wonder
gift.
if, is that,
Do you
ready
wanna-
to bring out one of the songs? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I spent 15 years in New York City on Broadway doing musical theater, and I moved to Nashville last year. And I started songwriting, which has been a terrifying and rewarding and exciting journey. And my pal Jay Denton lives here in LA, so we thought, let's take this opportunity to get to perform together. And he co-wrote the two songs that I'm going to be singing for you today. So Jay, why don't you come on up? Jay Denton, ladies and gentlemen. So this first song, I'll just tell you a little bit of the backstory. My husband and I got married in Minnesota. He's also from Minnesota. We got married in 2007. We went on a week-long honeymoon to Mexico, and then we packed a U-Haul and drove to New York 4 days later. And we jump-started our lives together in New York in 2007. And then last year, also within a matter of weeks, we packed all of our belongings, bought a house in Nashville, and moved to Nashville. And every move has been kind of chaotic and swift, and yet I had him with me both of those times. And so this is a song about how home isn't a building or a city, but as long as you have the person you love with you, home can be anywhere. Empty spaces on the wall, a single mattress on the bedroom floor, boxes in the U-Haul, paper plates in the kitchen drawer. Moving in may take a while, but I look at you and smile. Nothing's in place today, but we'll be okay. I could be happy anywhere as long as I'm with you. If you say you are going there, you know I'll go there too. Winds of change may come and go. Some days are high, some days are low. Though we're both rocking to and fro, I'm good, I'm with you. Don't know what we're gonna do. Fall away and start somewhere new, even in the unknown. I got something I can call my own. Snuggle up and warm, we'll make it through any kind of storm. Dance in the rain, babe, we'll be okay. 'Cause I could be happy anywhere as long as I'm with you. If you say you are going there, you know I'll go there too. Winds of change may come and go. Some days are high, some days are low. Though we're both rocking to and fro, I'm good, I'm with you. Do 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 do, yeah. Do 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 do, yeah. Oh yeah. Do 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 do, yeah. Do 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 do, yeah. Oh yeah. I can be happy anywhere as long as I'm with you. If you say you are going there, you know I'll go there too. Winds of change will come and go. Some days are high, some days are low. Though we're both rocking to and fro, I'm good, I'm with you. Do 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 do, yeah. Do 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 do, I'm good, I'm with you. Thank you, thank you.
Can you chat a little more?
Great, we'll chat a little bit more. We'll come back to song 2. Jay Denton!
Jay.
Yay!
I was thinking about all the times that I've moved and how much that song would have helped on about the 12th time up and down the stairs.
Yes,
With the
I
boxes.
know.
So I was thinking, gosh, you know, that feels fantastic. I can just imagine us driving and we're going. And then I thought, wait a minute, We had to load that darn truck.
Oh yeah. In fact, when we moved to Tennessee, I actually had booked a job in Canada. I was filming a Hallmark movie of all things. And my husband packed our stuff and drove our stuff in the U-Haul down to Tennessee. And I flew home to our new house. So it was crazy. He did a lot of that move, even without me. And that's kind of what made it so crazy. That all those unknowns of coming home and being like, we're eating off of paper plates and we don't have a couch because it's on back order for the next 3 months. But it's okay. I have you, and that's really what matters.
Oh, that is absolutely tremendous. And you, Emma, are new to our community as well, I believe. Is that right?
No, it's not.
No, is that right?
No, Thousand Oaks, born and raised. But I did do a lot of traveling when I was an opera singer back in the day.
Right.
But I settled here. I have 2 young kids, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And actually funny, I was singing with Utah Festival Opera when we moved into our first house, and it was my husband who did that by himself because I was performing. But yeah, now I'm back home for I don't know, like 8 years now.
So what are you preparing your choir members for in these first steps? Like, what are the things that you take from your own experience of the changes and just all of the different ways that we have to train and giving them those first steps on the ladder?
Well, the first thing we do, I mean, there's a lot of different, it's exposing them to beautiful music and music that they maybe have never heard before, because kids these days, it's mostly like the pop and just not like the major classical work. So I think a big portion of what we do is exposing them to the masterworks and the classical repertoire and the beauty of that. And it really opens up a lot of their eyes to like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then we also teach a lot of musicianship. So just beginning musicianship that you would learn whether you're singing or you're playing an instrument, how to read music, ear training, sight singing. And it is, you know, a step-by-step approach. We have kids in our apprentice choir as young as 5, and they're not learning how to read music yet. Well, in a way they are, because we use like sign language, hand signs, it's called solfege. And so they are learning in a way how to read music by reading the hand signs that I'm doing. And then later that transfers to reading actual sheet music. But yeah, there's a lot of steps in between, but our advanced ensemble, it is much more about being able to read the music and sight sing and just, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Laura, when you were doing that 2nd grade Munchkin, did somebody give you some instruction that you thought really helped you find that peace?
I had to dig into my soul
Right,
to find my inner Munchkin.
Right, exactly. Just how to operate on stage and...
You know, I think that came with the show after Wizard of Oz. I played Amaryllis in The Music Man. Do you guys know The Music Man? And I feel like that was the moment where I was finally like, oh, I had some lines. I had a moment. I had to play the piano on stage, and you know, like that to me, that felt like I was legitimized, and that was in 3rd grade. That was the next year. And so, yeah, I guess I learned along the way. I don't remember there being like, I mean, I remember during Wizard of Oz, like looking up to the actress playing Dorothy and wanting to learn from those who had gone before me, and I still do that. I mean, don't we all? But I think I just learned through experience along the way that I feel like I've been able to take little nuggets of wisdom from my elders and directors and collaborators.
There are 2 lessons that I learned from a teacher of mine. One has to do with how you stand on the conductor's podium, because it's very easy in music. You feel the pulse, and apparently I was flexing my feet and kind of bouncing a little bit. And I remember in one rehearsal that I was doing, I suddenly felt these hands on my heels gripping me down. And he looks up and says, "Now see how that feels."
Sometimes you have to learn the hard way.
Right, exactly. And it was so interesting because I thought, oh right, a different part of your body and a different kind of grounding. And then another thing that, as a trumpet player originally, it's very easy when you're conducting, you give this beat, this preparation beat, and then it's very easy to stop breathing in a certain way. Because we always learn, you take a nice comfortable breath in and then you breathe out. Well, the music is going, and then you're kind of doing your thing, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I haven't exhaled yet, which is just crazy. So those are a couple things that and a colleague of mine actually was going to do quite a prominent engagement, and this person's not usually conducting, he's usually playing an instrument. Said, I've been really thinking about this whole breathing thing, and I've just got this incredible pain in my back from practicing. I said, well, do you exhale when you're actually conducting? And he came back to me the next day and said, exhale.
The amazing thing about that is that as a singer, when a conductor, we've had so many, and I'm sure you've had so many different conductors, and you usually can tell the difference between a conductor who mainly just and a conductor versus a conductor who's been trained as a singer, because you can tell if it's someone who's been trained as a singer, they breathe out with the phrase, and then they breathe in, and then they breathe out with the phrase, and you subconsciously, like I'm watching the conductor and I breathe with them, and if it's a tense breath, you get tense too. So any gesture that a conductor has as a singer, I'm not sure as an instrumentalist, but as a singer, it directly affects how you sing and how well or poorly you sing.
Whew, pressure.
And some of those are habits you don't even know you have until someone else tells you. So yeah, it's important to learn the correct way, and sometimes you don't learn the correct way, and you have to break those habits later in life, and that gets harder.
Exactly. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about the concert this weekend. We are going to start with an ensemble called Mariachi Reyes. It's a mariachi ensemble that is from Oxnard, just down the road, and they're going to be playing two really amazing arrangements of Mexican Christmas carols with the orchestra. And if any of you were with us this time last year when we inaugurated our Tales of Winter, now Winter Spectacular concert, we started this procession around the hall, and it's based on the Las Posadas procession that has been in existence since the 1580s. Very interesting story about that, which is that Spanish missionaries came to Mexico and basically blended Aztec traditions, religious traditions, with this pageant expression of a way to teach all of the indigenous people about the birth of Christ. And the merging of those traditions became the Las Posadas, which has now been going on for over 400 years. And it happens actually throughout this area as well, coming up in a couple of weeks, running up until just before Christmas. Look up Las Posadas if you're out and about, and go and check this out, because people are walking with candles and piñatas and decorated tree branches, and the idea is that Mary and Joseph went to each house looking for refuge, and that in the Las Posadas procession, they are turned away. And so they go to a house and they sing the carols, and everybody's standing there and the person in the house says, no, we have no room, and then they go to the next house. And then finally, at the end of the procession, they either go to a church or a house, and then there's a big celebration. So it's a really beautiful presentation. So all the children will be marching with the piñatas. Our Ukrainian folk dancers will be marching with the decorated sticks and candles throughout the hall. So that's how we start the concert. And then, and that is a tradition we're going to keep every year, because it is part of our local tradition, actually. Then we'll have a number of featured pieces for the orchestra, one called Winter Joy, which is a polka by Josef Strauss, which is the brother of the more famous Johann Strauss, but a lot of people argue that Josef Strauss's music, which is amazing, could actually be better than Johann Strauss. And Johann composed the Blue Danube and all those pieces, so hard to beat. But in any case, so we'll have Winter Joy. We'll also have the first movement of Tchaikovsky's Winter Dreams Symphony. So everything that the orchestra plays is based on some winter-inspired theme. And then also in the program, Eric Korngold's Snowman, which is a big pantomime work. There's a little overture called the Snowman Overture, which is really fun. Got some nice waltzes, etc. Then we are featuring Laura. We're also featuring another fabulous local artist named Chris Mann. And Chris, he actually wowed the world during COVID by creating these unbelievable parodies of songs, and he has tens of millions of views on YouTube, and they're just unbelievable. So we're looking forward to welcoming Chris on stage. Then, as I mentioned, we have a whole segment on Ukrainian December traditions, which is just beautiful. This ensemble, we actually even have a dancer who fled Ukraine, has actually moved to Alabama, I believe, and has a community here that she has been living and working among, and she'll be a featured ballet dancer during that part. We'll welcome the mariachi band back for a couple little gifts, and then Laura will wrap up the show with a number of holiday favorites. So it's one of these concerts, if you were with us in October and we did American Songbook, Double Bass, Virtuoso, Mozart Symphony, Son Jarocho, I mean, we went all over the place. It's one of these concerts as well. So I hope that it reaches somebody in some way, and that will make me very happy, which is really fun. And I was just thinking about the when you walk into an orchestra setting. I mean, you and I just met each other, about 45 minutes ago. I mean, what is that like when obviously we have a lot of communication about what we're going to do. We should do this, maybe not that, and then there's just this compressed time. I mean, what do you have to do to get ready for that big swoop of activity?
Yeah. It's such a magical thing getting to sing with an orchestra, and I haven't gotten to do it in a couple years now, and so I can't wait for tomorrow. But it is a little crazy. It's like everybody's a pro, and you just have to show up. We get one rehearsal today after this, but you supplied me with music and a couple, MIDI files or previous recordings of some of these tracks. And I prepared as much as I could, and you guys prepared as much as you could, and today we get to mesh it together and work out the kinks so that it's perfect for you tomorrow.
Just like that. Pour in water and stir.
Yeah.
It's like ramen. And I think it's probably the same for the children's choir. We're going to see them at 5:15 today, and we also have actually the added challenge of the fact that the choir will be in front of the orchestra, which so we're working out lots of logistics in addition to just the placement on stage, what people hear. There's monitors so people hear themselves on the stage, but we also have lots of projections and lighting cues. So it's this kind of mix between a classical concert and a holiday pop show by design, but it's really, I think it's fun because people expect a lot of different things for this time of year.
I was going to say, it sounds like a super eclectic concert. Like, I'm really excited for tomorrow. I think there's going to be something for everybody for sure. And yes, we're celebrating the season, but in so many different ways. And I've also never met Chris, and we get to sing a couple duets, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think we'll all be on our toes tomorrow, but in the best way.
Yeah, and I think, it's nice. There's something really special about Southern California where we want it to be really sparkly and fun and vibrant, but everybody's just like, yeah, we're gonna make it work. It's all good. It's not like New York where you're just like, gotta get her. It's a big grind. So you took this weekend off, is that right? Or you got a cover for tonight, or there's some story about why you're able to be with us. So you are in a show in Nashville. So tell us about that.
Yes, I'm doing this residency show in Nashville. It's the first of its kind, and to be honest, it's very unique for anything that I've ever done. It's kind of a Las Vegas style Cirque du Soleil comedy musical. And it's just super eclectic and fun, and it's like a 75-minute, quick go see the show, be entertained, then go to dinner. But it's brand new. Our creator saw a show in Las Vegas that he was inspired by and was like, Nashville needs a show like this. This would do so well with the tourists all coming to Nashville. Nashville is growing exponentially. It is becoming a very hot destination, and so it's fun. We just opened in October, and I get to sing a beautiful song at the show and co-host the night, and it's great. So we have shows every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. So just 3 shows a week, which feels like such a piece of cake compared to Broadway. Then I still get to live a life and do things and have a little bit of consistency doing the show. And they're super flexible. So I got to take off this weekend, and we trained 2 covers for me, and here I am. I get to sing with the orchestra.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, I was thinking about this 8 shows a week business that you guys do on Broadway. How do you survive that process, not only week after week, but month after month?
Good question.
Because people are paying a lot of money and they think, wow, this must be Laura's favorite night because we laughed so hard.
Right. It's, I would say you have to be kind of born and bred to do that musical theater 8-show-a-week situation. I loved it. I love it. It's what I feel I was born to do. Because if you don't love it, it's too hard. And it requires a lot of sacrifice because you don't get to go to Christmases and weddings, and it's 8 shows a week, basically 365 days a year, so you really only have Monday off. You work a lot of holidays. But as a result, you get very close to a cast and a company, and you do life with those people, and they become your second family. And there are days where it feels like work because you're tired, but then again, the minute you set foot on the stage, it's like something, that adrenaline, something happens that you click on. And it, you just have to pace yourself throughout the week and learn to take care of your voice and your body. We are athletes in what we do, so it does require a certain amount of discipline and caretaking to be able to give 100% on stage every night.
Do you have to go back into rehearsal ever, or are people just giving notes along the way?
Understudies in a Broadway show still rehearse 2 days a week, every week, so they are ready to go on it at the drop of a hat. I understudied in Minnesota way back when, but I have not understudied in New York. But occasionally there's a rehearsal if there's like a press event, like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, or you're performing on the Letterman Show or something like that. You'll have a rehearsal for a specific event like that. But other than that, unless there's like a new put-in rehearsal, they call it, which is when like maybe some main character is leaving the show and a new actor is coming in to take over that role, then usually they have one rehearsal to like essentially put that person in, and then they go on like that night or the next day.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to do that for Hamilton or something with a whole bunch of words or something.
I know, can you imagine? I've only done that once. I replaced in South Pacific, and I had 2 weeks, I had like a week and a half, two weeks of rehearsal, one put in, and my put in, like, I didn't have the orchestra or lights. It was just me in costume and everyone else in sweatpants, kind of basically doing the show, and then that night, all the elements on, and you're on stage, and it's out of body. It's an out of body experience.
Are you in bed afterward at 2 because you're so ramped up, or
Yeah, usually I would come home and I would have dinner after the show. You get home at like 11:30. My husband would have like leftover dinner, or we do dinner, then maybe watch an episode of something to wind down, take a shower, go to bed at 1:30 or 2 in the morning. But then you sleep till like 10 a.m. You become nocturnal.
Right, second shift, so to speak.
Exactly.
So tell us about the second song you're going to sing for us.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, so this song, this is a little more serious, and we're giving you things that you won't see tomorrow night. And I released an EP of this music just like a month and a half ago. So that first song you can find out in the world, and this song is actually yet to be released. We have it done, but it's going to come out probably in January, February. It's called Every Piece. And part of what inspired my husband's and my move to Nashville was a hardship that we went through in New York that we just needed to kind of get out and start over and be in a new place. And I wrote this song out of that place, out of feeling like when you go through a valley and you're kind of on the floor, it's like you realize what's really important in your life. And for me, it was my faith and my family. And this is the song that essentially it's like, who's that person that holds you through a hardship and reminds you that you are worth it? Jay? Hi. And Jay co-wrote this song with me too. So how special to get to have my co-writer here playing with me. It's such a gift.
In Nashville as well.
Yes, and Jay has a studio in Nashville. And he's what do you call it, bi-coastal? Tennessee is not really a coast.
Yeah, it counts though.
It counts.
Yeah, you count the South. It's a different place. So. It feels bi-coastal.
Funny how quickly the tables can turn. One strike of a match and I'm left here to burn. What took years to build can be wrecked in a day. And I don't want to show that I'm a lost But you see through the cracks of my walls and say, darling, I got you, you're more than enough. You've got nothing to prove, you don't have to be tough. There's shades of your beauty that shine in the mess. I still want every piece of your brokenness. Every excuse running wild in my head. Oh, but you're pulling me in, I hang like a thread. Ooh, I try so hard to hide in a memory, but you never let me. You speak right through the cracks of my walls again. Darling, I got you, you're more than enough. You've got nothing to prove, you don't have to be tough. There are shades of your beauty that shine in the mess. Ooh, I still want every piece of your brokenness. Darling, I got you, you're more than enough. You've got nothing to prove, you don't have to be tough. There's shades of your beauty that shine in the mess. Ooh, I still want every piece of your brokenness. I still want every piece of your brokenness.
Yeah, that was so special. Jay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Absolutely tremendous. Well, this is what's happening this weekend. Tomorrow at 5:30, we have our Winter Fest. So we basically took what was our Winter Gala, and we wanted to turn it into a much broader community event. And at Winterfest, which is in the lobby areas throughout the Cavalier Center in Thousand Oaks, we have food stations and entertainment that's separate from the concert, representing Ukraine. So December traditions of Ukraine, Italy, China, and Mexico. And so you'll have food all prepared during and celebrated during this time, and music also from each of those cultures and countries. And then at 7:30 is our Winter Spectacular concert, which will feature these lovely performers and the orchestra. That concert is repeated on Sunday. The Winterfest food extravaganza is not repeated on Sunday, only Saturday. And they are two separate ticketed events, but all the proceeds on the Winterfest side of the equation at 5:30 tomorrow go to our education and programming initiatives. And we're just really thrilled because we think it's going to be a neat new tradition for our community to not only celebrate the traditions we all know and have lived our lives, but also to become aware and also celebrate the traditions of our neighbors and friends and the people we never know who just drive past us on the highway. Because that is such a broad and just miraculous community that we call home, and so many traditions are celebrated that we don't even know. And we're just trying to shine a spotlight on what holds families together and what makes those traditions special. So, ladies, I want to thank you so much, Emma Roche, Laura Osnes.
Thank you.
So pleased to have you with us. Happy holidays, everyone. Following this weekend's performances, our next New West Symphony production is at the end of January and then at the beginning of March. And so we will not see you for about 7 weeks or so, but look forward very much to our next time. I hope you have the happiest and merriest and just an amazing new year. 2023 is going to treat us well. I just know it is going to do it. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Great to have all of you here.
Thanks again.
Thank you for being here on YouTube and Facebook.